however you define it, in underage people is obviously someone who is unwell. But I don't think that you wake up one day and you start doing what he's accused of. I think this is something that you develop or you progress to, I think. Because
Glenn, before you get into all that, let's answer the top line question and then get into it.
Okay, the top line question is...
Did you ever see any of these people with underage
No.
women?
So the reason I'm saying that is not to avoid that question, but it's because by the time when you were talking in the 90s, I don't think he was there. That description, yeah. I think that what you're talking about is a later version.
Yeah, and
is that?
No, I understand that, and I do want to talk. I'm not.
So it's I think you need to separate the periods of time.
Sure.
Because one of the things that was definitely missing in my trial, and definitely missing from the narrative, is this notion, everything happened and he was always no, I don't believe that to be true.
So that's fine, and I do want to talk about that. I'm not pushing that away. I'm just putting it aside for a moment. What Mr. Epstein did, and frankly what you did or are accused of doing, is one thing that we'll talk about. But what I want to understand is whether one of the ways that Mr. Epstein befriended his clients or took care of them, or some would say blackmailed them, was by encouraging them to interact with women, underage or not.
So I think in the 90s he may have encouraged them, but these were people who were in their 20s or 30s.
So
he would have a masseuse, right? And he did. Male and female, by the way, in the 90s. It's never been discussed. Both in yoga and everything, there were men as well as women. And so if he would travel, and I can show them to you, I highlighted them on the flight record so you could see that there really were men that were also there. He would say, would you like to do yoga with Tito, or would you like a massage with this one? But they would be in their late 20s and professional masseuses. So I think there's a distinction.
And I want to talk about actual individuals here, and I understand the distinction between somebody who's an adult and someone who's underage. But even with somebody who's an adult, did you know Mr. Epstein to encourage folks to do that, whether it's a client or somebody else?
I certainly witnessed him. So if you were staying with him and you had a massage, that he would often travel with a masseuse. He would say, hey, would you like a massage? And he did do that, yes.
But would you or him or anybody else follow up with the masseuse afterwards to find out if there was any inappropriate sexual contact?
I never did, no.
So meaning, and then coming back to the blackmail issue, there's nothing wrong with getting a massage, of course not. Especially if somebody's obviously an adult and masseuse. I'm not quibbling with that. But my question is that there's a lot of accusations that one of the way Mr. Epstein was successful was through this idea of blackmail. Yes, young women and is a crime. Children is a crime. Absolutely. But even women over the age of 18. If Mr. Epstein encouraged these men or whomever to get massages and have inappropriate sexual contact with the masseuses, that's a separate issue, maybe slightly nuanced. But did you ever know him to do that?
No, I never did, absolutely, myself. I never heard him ask someone. I never heard that. No one. In the entire time I was with him or friends with him or had anyone, no one ever reported to me or came to me and said that anything inappropriate happened or was upset by it. I never saw tears. I never saw ever any of that.
And when you say no one ever reported to me, meaning like the masseuses or
never.
Any of the house staff?
Never.
Or the clients?
Or the clients themselves?
Never.
Okay. So let's, again, I want to stay, and coming back now to what you were talking about a moment ago with Mr. Epstein's kind of progression or getting worse, so just staying within the 90s, what role did you have, or what did you observe, which are two different issues, but both important, with respect to recruiting masseuses to come to either, I guess, Palm Beach or to travel or eventually New Mexico? What role did you have in that?
He asked me to find masseuses for him.
Say it again?
He asked me if I could find him masseuses.
Like as part of, like you said, you were his general manager, so as part of all your duties, that was one of them.
And I did do that. So the first person I believe that I introduced him to as a masseuse was somebody called. She was, I don't know, late 20s, professional masseuse.
Was this something that happened early on in your relationship, or? And again, I know we're talking about the 90s, but are we talking about early 90s, or is this later on?
So, in terms of massage, I've had a lot of injuries. I do a lot of dangerous sports, and have had multiple serious accidents, and walk without any lameness because of physical therapy and massage. That to me is it's medicinal for me. So Epstein, whatever his massage situation, whatever, he loved massage. And if I met somebody who I thought was a good masseuse or masseur, I introduced them. And because I got them and he asked me if I did, and I said yes. And I'm pretty sure that would have, well, I can't remember, 93, 92, from the beginning.
So go ahead. So then what happens over the next, there's a ton of writing and a ton of, I guess, testimony as well, but also public reporting about how the recruiting was a very aggressive effort that you were a part of, that he was a part of, and others, to try to find more and more masseuses. What is that true, and what role did you have in that?
That is partially true.
Okay.
So it is true that I found masseuses, and he became more insistent. He knew all the time. He got bored, so he would be bored with a masseuse, and he would say, "Find me a new masseuse." I am the entire opposite. If I find someone that I like, I stay with them. I'm like, I don't want new. He would drive for new, so that is true. And in my effort to find them, I would go to massage spas, like legitimate spas. We're not talking, funky ones that people have. So, if I got a massage from somebody in a spa that I liked, I asked them if they would do home visits. If they said yes, I would ask them to come to the house, and he would see if he liked them or not. But these were people who worked in spas. I never ever checked their age, and I never checked their credentials. I never asked for a certificate.
What?
But just to be clear, you never thought anybody was under 18?
I never crossed. Okay. No, that was never my. That was never a drive.
What did you know at the time about him, Mr. Epstein, requiring masseuses to be naked, or requiring masseuses to either perform sexual favors for Mr. Epstein, or to be there if Mr. Epstein masturbated, or things like that? And again, I'm asking you about a 15-year period or whatever, 10-year period. So I appreciate it's a very broad question. So answer it in a way that, addresses what you've been charged with doing, but also what's been said about you.
Okay, so the 90s, I don't think that I ever thought, that never would cross my mind. I'm not sure that I thought about that in those contexts at all until his arrest and those papers came out. But I believe the subject of the question that you're asking me, I believe started in the 2000s.
In the 2000 time period.
Yes, 2000.
Why do you think,
2000.
like, what in your mind makes you think that that's the time that it started?
I think because in December of 2001 he met, and I think was responsible for that in its entirety. And the reason I believe that, so she was a self-confessed, having been sexually abused as a young girl, and was trained, her words I'm quoting now, not mine, in all the arts of whatever that is, the sex program, by a man called Ron Eppinger, who was her pimp from when she was 14, I believe, or 15, I don't know. And in her book describes him training her to be what every man wants in all its manners, fellatio and everything else. I believe that then what happened was that he met her and she came as a masseuse to his house in December of 2001 is when I think it started. Now what their relationship was and what happened with them in that early period of time I cannot say. What I can say is that he liked her and she started to travel with him at that time period. I know then what happened was that when she first started to see him, or first came into his orbit as his masseuse or whatever, she was engaged to be married and wearing an engagement ring and was living with her fiancé. She broke up after a few months with her fiancé and took up with the local drug dealer. So let's say after 4 or 5 months in the time period when she was seeing Epstein, let's say we're now May, June of 2002, or is it 2000? From whenever she hits the, whatever that is, if that's 2000, I think it's 2000, I'm sorry. I think it's when she met him, December of 2000. So then you go through, I don't remember, you'll have to look.
Okay. I'm not holding you to exact dates.
No, I mean, I'm just trying to, I'm giving the, so then I think, so she takes up with the local drug dealer and she becomes druggy. Like, you know how druggies, well maybe you don't. I live with a lot in Tallahassee. They become even more unreliable than normal. And at some point, she's now working somewhere else. He stops seeing her because he doesn't like people who do drugs. And I think that not seeing her lasted 5 or 6 months, and in that period of time she got arrested for theft, and she had a warrant out for her arrest. Now this I've pieced together because this piece I didn't know. She then called Epstein to have help avoiding the warrant for her arrest, and he sent her to Thailand to get a massage therapy license. This is the bit that I guess. This is the bit that I extrapolated. In the period of time from when she came back to when she left, he asked her to replace herself as his masseuse or whatever she was doing, and she brought the first replacement for her that would have been one of the accusers in my case, I think, would have been, and then everyone who came subsequent, simultaneously, if she wasn't the first, I don't know, every single person who came to his house came through, and her boyfriend Tony, and then whoever else underneath her, and that is how it started.
So before her...
Tony Figueroa
is her boyfriend.
Before her, so now going back into the 90s, you don't believe that Mr. Epstein was abusing masseuses?
Underage.
Or overage. I mean, I think, well, I'm using abuse in the broadest sense of the word because I'm assuming that you said that you have no idea over the years. You always assumed the masseuses were overage, right? So when I'm talking about abuse, I'm even talking about an adult masseuse who comes in to give a massage and is told to take off their clothes, told they're not going to get paid if they don't keep their clothes, basically suggested they had to watch him masturbate, like the things that have been publicly said about what he did. I'm not distinguishing adults or young or underage women for that. I'm
going to think that would have been a habit.
Okay.
I'm going to say that the massage game was a habit.
What does that mean?
That means that I'm sure that he didn't suddenly start having relations with masseuses in 2002.
Okay.
I'm sure he must have had relations with masseuses who knows when.
But you're saying, as far as you, I use the word abuse, you're saying that as far as you sit here today, you would describe that more as consensual, meaning the masseuse did this willingly.
I saw him with lots of masseuses. I never saw a single masseuse ever look unhappy or not come back or whatever. So based on my observation, I don't think that if you are being raped, as now he's like this prolific, I just can't imagine why you would return.
It's not what you observed at the time.
Not what I observed at the time, no.
We're going to spend more time on this issue because I think it's important. But just going back to kind of the question that I started with in this area, which is that it ties into the blackmail issue. So we talked about people that were his clients, and you've mentioned President Clinton, and then early on.
Oh, I never said he was a client.
I did not say you said. I'm saying you talk about his clients.
Oh, okay, right.
And then put his clients off to the side, and then you mentioned some other people. You mentioned President Clinton. You mentioned President Trump early on. Who were other famous / politicians? Who were other individuals in Mr. Epstein's life during that time period? So the early 90s.
It was the 90s. Should we just?
Yes.
Okay, Congressman Macmillan.
Say it again.
Macmillan.
Okay.
Henry Rozovsky, who was the provost of Harvard. Hang on, can I?
Sure. You're looking at your notes. Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Joe Pagano, Jerry Goldsmith, Joe Roberts, Kenny Lipper, Dan Abramson. Don't know if in the 90s Tom Pritzker, Ace, Jimmy Kane, Lou Ranieri. I mean, there were.
What about the royal family?
No, he didn't know them in the 90s.
What about what about Prince Andrew?
Didn't know him in the 90s. Oh, well, is that right?
I wasn't there. I do not know. So I don't want you to worry about exact dates. You're not positive about that, but you don't have a specific recollection of that being in the 90s?
No.
Okay.
I can date it for you, I think. But I can't give you...
That's okay. That's fine. So with respect to... and we'll take a break in a minute to get some food, but just with respect to with respect to the individuals you just talked about, so again, focus on the 90s, and so the people that I'm talking about right now, and we might add some names later, so we're talking about the clients that he worked with, which you've mentioned several of, and I know that wasn't exhaustive, but you've mentioned several of them, and then the kind of what I called famous friends, but the prominent individuals that were in his life in the 90s. Does any stick out in your mind as having received massages? All of them.
Henry Rozovsky received a massage.
And why does that stick out in your memory?
Because I saw him in a bathrobe at 71st Street, and he had received a massage. He told me.
And do you know whether there was any, whether the masseuse was naked during that massage?
I wouldn't have any idea.
Do you know whether
I doubt it. He was like in his 80s.
Say it again?
I doubt it. He was like in his 80s.
Okay, but do you know, notwithstanding his age?
Minsky.
Say it again?
Minsky was another person.
Do you know whether, for example, President Clinton ever received a massage?
I don't believe he did.
And what makes you say you don't believe he did?
Well, because I don't, so that's a good question. The time that Epstein and President Clinton spent together, the only times I believe, well, obviously they traveled. There was that, they claim they went on the plane 26 times or whatever. That would be one journey. So they spent time on the plane together, and I don't believe there was ever a massage on the plane. So that would have been the only time that I think that President Clinton could have even received a massage, and he didn't, because I was there.
And you mentioned that early, in the very beginning of the conversation, you mentioned President Trump in the early 90s.
Yes.
What did you observe as far as President Trump and his relationship with you or Mr. Epstein?
Well, I just want to say, for my relationship with President Trump, relationship's a big word, but I just want to say that I met him, or I believe I may have, because of my father in the 90s.
Yep. Okay.
So my father liked him very much, and he really liked his wife as well, because they were both Czechoslovakian, and far as I'm concerned. President Trump was always very cordial and very kind to me, and I just want to say that I admire his extraordinary achievement in becoming the president now, and I like him, and I've always liked him. So that is the sum and substance of my entire relationship with him.
What about Mr. Epstein's relationship with him?
I don't know how they met, and I don't know how they became friends. I certainly saw them together, and I remember the few times I observed them together that they were friendly. I mean,
Was
they
that
seemed
in
friendly.
social settings, or was that in private settings?
I believe I only ever saw them in social settings. I don't recall any private settings.
Have you ever been to Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach?
I have.
And what time period are you thinking about when you say yes?
Well, I don't remember when the president purchased Mar-a-Lago, so from whenever it turned into a club, I went there, and I loved going there. So
Did you go there alone or with Mr. Epstein?
mostly alone.
Do you know
Only
whether-
times I went there was for an event, maybe once or twice.
And do you know whether Mr. Epstein ever went there?
I believe he did, but again, we really were. He didn't take me with him all the time, so he would go and. Oh right, I never. Well, he did from time to time, but he would go alone. I think he would maybe go himself to the spa. I certainly did.
Did you ever observe President Trump receive a massage?
Never.
Did you ever observe? You said that you were. I mean, have you seen there's photographs, public photographs of Mr. Epstein and President Trump together?
Yes.
And there's photographs of. I think you're in some of the photographs
Yes.
as well. Those all appear to be social settings.
Yes. That's my memory. There were social settings. I don't know Epstein's. If he had, whatever the nature of the president's friendship, if you will, or however you want to define that with Epstein, I was never witness. I think they were friendly, like people are in social settings. I don't think they were close friends, or I certainly never witnessed the president in any of. I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
When's the last time you think you saw in person President Trump?
It's been a long time. Probably not. Sometime in the beginning, mid 2000s maybe, and it would only have been a social setting, as far as I recall.
And did you ever hear Mr. Epstein or anybody say that President Trump had done anything inappropriate with masseuses or with anybody in your world?
Absolutely never. In any context.
Do you know whether masseuses from Mar-a-Lago spa ended up giving massages to private massages to Mr. Epstein? And I'm not asking for what you may have read, but from at the time, from your personal knowledge, do you know whether that's true?
I don't recall. Is it possible? Yes, but I don't remember that. So I don't recall that, but it's possible.
Do you have recollection of you ever recruiting a masseuse from Mar-a-Lago spa to go give a private massage to Mr. Epstein?
I've never recruited a masseuse from Mar-a-Lago for that, as far as I remember. I can't ever recollect doing that.
Okay, so what I think we should do now, it's about 12:15. We'll take a break, and we will come back in a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Good afternoon. We are continuing the recorded proffer interview of Ms. Maxwell. The time is 12:59, Thursday, July 24th.
Okay, so just continuing, we're talking about Ms. Maxwell. still focused on the 90s time period, with understanding that could spill over into the early 2000s, but still that part of your life with Mr. Epstein. There's been public reporting about conduct by Mr. Epstein and others at Little St. James.
Yes.
So can you talk about the frequency with which you went there, and address some of those, some of the reporting, namely around young masseuses or young women who would be present, and what you observed relating to them, and then I'll ask questions around that.
So, if I'm right, he purchased the island in 1996, and he was friendly with the owners, and originally we went to the island as guests of the owners, and then I guess at some point the owners told him they wanted to sell, and he decided to purchase it. So the island was very rustic. I loved it. He, of course, had completely different ideas. And I would say there was none of what you were describing at that early period of time. So the frequency was often on the island, because he loved it. He really, really loved it. And we would go all the time. Mostly, all the early phase was based on improvements that could be made on the island, always going with new architects, new designers, new construction people. I'd say the first 2 years, almost every trip, not everyone, but almost every trip contained an individual who would be brought on board to have an opinion as to how to I don't want to use the word improve the island, because I don't think you could improve it, but to, I can't think what the word would be, to, what's the word I'm looking for? Develop it, sorry, that's the word I'm looking for. Develop the island, that's the word I'm looking for. So there were trips, constant trips with that in mind. And I would say now, if we're moving to the late 90s, 96, 97, I definitely witnessed a progression in Mr. Epstein's behavior, and a modification, if you will, where in the past, in the early 90s, I don't remember traveling so much with other people, or there'd be a masseuse or a yoga person, but now he started to travel with more, always a masseuse, whereas in the past it wasn't always a masseuse or always an instructor. There was now starting to be always an individual or a friend or whatever. There's always a, like, maybe the word would be entourage. But these were always people in their 20s, late 20s, early 30s, as my memory sees it, as I observed that time. And he tasked me with finding a local masseuse for him in St. Thomas, because sometimes, even though I say he would always travel with an entourage, sometimes he didn't, and he wanted to have a massage locally. So I visited the spas that were local in St. Thomas and in St. John. And if I met someone, a man or a woman actually, because it was difficult to find somebody in St. Thomas, it's not exactly, so, and I did find a couple of people who would come, so that's how they came. Because also it was a schlep, so if you had somebody who came, it would be, you'd have to, boat ride and several hours. It wasn't just it's not like arriving with your massage table and stuff, so there was that. So I did do that. So
did, over the years, males also give massages to Mr. Epstein?
Yes. I did say, I don't think, at the beginning, definitely, and I would say towards sort of, again, late 90s, I don't remember any men. They were at the beginning, I think, in that, towards the late 90s, I kind of don't think of any men, I only think of women.
Did you, you talk about entourage flying right now we're talking about the island. Did you observe any sexual, I was going to say misconduct, but any sex at all whatsoever on the plane?
Never on the plane, no.
Was there a part of the plane that was closed off from others where Mr. Epstein could go and get a massage or
Yeah.
whatever?
Okay, so that's a good question. So there were two planes. So you had there was a Gulfstream, and that's open plan. So anything, I mean, there was a sofa that turned into a bed, and he did sleep on that. And then, but in the Boeing, which he flew on a lot, there was his area could be closed off with a door, and behind that door there was a bedroom and an office. So if that door was shut, you wouldn't see it.
But but you never observed Mr. Epstein engaging in sex or getting a massage with somebody where the masseuse was not clothed on the plane?
I can't say that. I might have.
Okay.
I definitely might have, either, but both in the Gulfstream or in the
Okay.
I'm sure I did, but it's not. I can't.
That's fair.
Okay.
Um,
I'm absolutely sure I did. I must have, because he was so obsessed with someone rubbing his feet, or just when you ask me about massages, I just want to be clear. I generally what I think of that is somebody on a massage table, but other people might think of it as something different. You could have someone rubbing his feet or his shoulder. I saw that all the time. That I did, but that's separate from being on a massage table.
How, again, I know we're talking about a decade-long period, but during the period we're talking about, in a 7-day week, how often would Mr. Epstein get a massage?
In the 90s, when we're talking, he would get one every day. I think as that time progressed, he would get one maybe twice a day. I do want to say that there was maybe a reason that things altered or morphed or progressed, and it is maybe part of the reason also that he and I our relationship, or however somebody wants to call it, altered, and he started doing testosterone, and that altered his character. And I believe that started in the late 90s, and I believe that the FBI has his medical records, and you may see that on his medical records.
So you believe that he started taking testosterone in the 90s, and when you say that altered his behavior, you're saying it made him get more massages, or that was just one part of what changed about him?
Well, he became more aggressive.
Nice.
And I think that he may be, now I'm just imagining that the testosterone altered his desires or something. Does that...
And so when, given what you've said the past couple hours about his kind of progression or change, let's focus on that time period. So more towards the late 90s,
yeah, okay.
So 96, 97, 8. When you've said that he changed, did you know flat out that he was having sex or otherwise some sort of sexual conduct with masseuses regularly?
Flat out, no. I denied that. I couldn't imagine that he would. But I think, looking back now, that I did not. But I started to suspect that he was not faithful. Seems ludicrous, but that's what I thought.
But if he's flying from Palm Beach to St. Thomas, or if he's flying all over the country to New Mexico or to New York, or even in Palm Beach, and there's young women, putting aside whether they're under the age of 18 or in their 20s, every day at the house, multiple masseuses, multiple massages on some days. You're interacting with the masseuses constantly. Or maybe that's not right.
That's
let
not
me
right.
take back what I just said. Ignore that part. But you understand that he's getting massages every day, sometimes multiple times a day. By the late 90s, it's all women. Presumably, they're some of them are new, but they're also repeat masseuses. What did you? I mean, you had to know at that point that there was something going on beyond just he really needed to get massaged.
Very fair question. There's two things. The first is the person that he saw the most at that period of time was in her 40s. And she was with him all the time. And I'm like, married as well.
Yeah.
And I'm square. And it never occurred, well, I don't believe it occurred to me at the time that with this woman he would be having relations. And he was with her. That was the person he had the most massages, yoga, and that with at that time, in the 90s period. The second thing is that he told me he had difficulty having an erection. And I believed him.
When you said he said that, you mean he regularly told you that? Like
when I first, because when I didn't have sex with him after the first time, and it took, so I asked him, was it me? And he told me it was him. And I'd never, up until this moment in my life, I'm not stupid, I'm very bright. I've had an excellent education. I travelled all over the world. I had boyfriends. But I had never met or understood that somebody could be so, would lie to me about. It never occurred to me. I didn't have a frame of context within my life experience where somebody would be so manipulative and devious with me. And plus I just didn't have, and I was happy not to have sex because I have a condition that doesn't lend itself to that.
Does, when you learned, so fast forward just for a moment to the 2007-8-9 time period, and he's arrested and charged, and there's all kinds of press around his purported contact. At that point, did you accept that was true? Meaning, did it make sense at that point when you were reading about women who claimed that they had been abused, even underage? And at that point, did you think to yourself, well, geez, that makes sense now that I think about it, or no?
First of all, I only read what was in the newspapers. I didn't have any other thing, and I'm embarrassed to say I didn't believe it.
Okay. Right. I mean, you didn't believe that the accusations were true at the time.
No.
Yeah. So let's.
And sorry, I need to say, even if they were true, I believe that he was duped and he didn't know that they were, whatever was in the papers at that time, whether they said that they were 17 or whatever. It didn't register. Because along with all of those, well, not in 2006, but later when the more salacious and other allegations came out, I knew were utterly false, which then just reinforced my belief that the rest was not true.
Let me ask you a question about the age of the masseuses over the years. I think in my mind, there's a difference between you knowing or not knowing that a masseuse is under the age of 18 and coming to give a massage, and you knowing that Mr. Epstein, sexually abused the underage person or made her strip or something like that. Meaning, and I want to understand whether you believe that nobody that came to give massages, none of the women were under 18, or that you didn't focus on their age, but you were more focused on whether any underage woman was abused by him?
I think it's better to answer this question with corroborating evidence and then go back and explain so that I frame your understanding of what I'm saying. My understanding is that in 2008, they had interviewed 44 women, let's say, or around that number. Mm-hmm. You have to understand, not a single one of those 44 women mentioned me in a single report. And it's not because... Go back. They didn't mention me in the report because they never met me, they never saw me, and they never interacted with me. So, to go back to your question, it's not that I thought one way or another, it's that I didn't see them.
Okay. I see. Okay.
Does that...
Yeah, no, that's helpful. So...
But when I say not one single one of those reports talks about me. And I just want to clarify exactly, because I'm obviously aware that one of those girls was one of the witnesses in my trial, specifically. To use her own testimony so that you don't have to hear my point of view, it's better if it comes from her own words, and that way there's no second guessing whether what I'm saying. Herself said that recruited her, brought her, and trained her. Those are own words. Where was I going with this?
Well, that you didn't know. I mean, I assume.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yes, sorry, I'm trying to remember words.
It's okay.
I really do have some slow cognition issues.
So she testifies that it was that recruited her and trained her, and not you.
So then in her first FBI meeting, she reports seeing a woman with short dark hair at the house, which then is used as evidence that that person was myself. But the maid lady who helped keep the house, John's Alessi's wife, with an accent, I believe she said. John Alessi's wife had short dark hair and an accent. I'm sorry, but I find, and you can ask yourselves this, I mean, I've obviously modified my accent. I've been in America a long time, but I'm British. I've been brought up with a very strong British accent. And I don't believe there's American on planet Earth that doesn't recognize this to be British or Australian, maybe, if you really don't know. But it's not some random accent. Now, the Hispanic, maybe, okay. That was John's wife that she saw, not me. And I'd like to point out further how you potentially through her own words, she identified.
Why don't we stop there and let them ask the next
Sorry.
question? Yeah.
So,
okay.
So just, and look, I want to try to. I think probably tomorrow I want to talk more about kind of the evidence against you and how to address that. So
sorry.
No, don't apologize. That's helpful, but I don't want you to be burdened. I want you to just tell the truth the best you can. So I don't want you to be burdened by what people said at trial or what the press says about you.
I just thought it was illustrative when you asked me the question, because it doesn't. I did not. I absolutely have no memory at any. Now I'm leaving separate to this, obviously, so that's a separate story. I'm not going to pretend. Well, we'll
get to.
Yes,
go ahead.
But in the terms of the scheme or whatever, however you want to determine what you're calling that, I have no memory, no active anything of having seen anybody that resembles a child, let's call it what it is, at that house giving him a massage. At all. It's not even like I did this. It's an at all. And 44 people didn't see me or talk about me either, including.
And when you say that house...
Oh, sorry, Palm Beach.
Yeah, no, I understand what you mean, but does the same memory or lack thereof apply to on planes in New Mexico, in New York?
Well, with some other important caveats. On that, Bajorlin Jane in my trial was clearly underage, clearly a child. And I only saw her in Palm Beach. And I only saw her with her mother. The other person who was clearly also not an adult or even close, I believe, I remember her now, but that would be the only two, or three, whatever that is.
So, did you ever know Mr. Epstein to communicate with FBI agents, either like intelligence FBI agents, like as a source, or just generally with FBI agents?
No.
Do you think if he had done that, you would have known, like he would have told you something like that? Like if I said to you, Mr. Epstein was a source for the FBI, would you say, that's crazy, no he wasn't? Or maybe he was, he would have told me that anyway?
I have two answers for that. I think if he was, for real, I think he would have bragged about it to me as a show-off, because he could be a show-off. And if he wasn't, he might have dropped it like he was cool. And I don't remember him doing either. Now, with, again, the caveat that before I met him, finding money, I think he may have suggested that there were some people who helped him, but that's the only context that I recall that in.
What do you mean by that? When you said finding money, what do you mean?
Well, his business where remember I told you,
Mm-hmm.
I think in that context, he showed me a photograph that he had with some African warlords or something that he told me, and, you know, I don't remember if that's what I interpreted, like that kind of thing, or whether it was something like that. That's the only actual active memory I have of something nefarious. Well, nefarious, I don't even know if it was nefarious, but covert, I suppose, would be the word.
And what about any other intelligence agency, like the CIA or Defense Intelligence or any other law enforcement agency?
Okay. I don't think so. I think that I don't remember anything like that. I just don't think he had the wherewithal, and I think that whole aspect of that is... Can I use a bad word?
Yes.
Yes.
Bullshit.
Okay. And what do you think is bullshit? Meaning, what do you mean?
Would you have known if he was? Would he have been bragging to you? Would he have been saying these things?
I think he was, because I think. Well, sorry. I think that. I think one of the reasons why he liked me was because of my family connections, and why he liked other people was because they were cool or whatever. And I think that certainly early when I met him, he would have tried to impress me, or tried to show off, if you will, like he was that guy, you know. And he wasn't that guy. And so, and I think that he would have tried to bullshit me, and he didn't. So I think it's... Well, he may have tried to bullshit me, but not...
Right.
Sorry.
So I want to just shift for a few minutes to talk about post-2000 to kind of when your relationship changed over the years with him. Did there come a time when Mr. Epstein, did meet members of the royal family?
Yes.
When was that?
So I need to go back, because I think I may have misspoke.
Okay.
Well, I didn't misspeak, but it's something that I had forgotten.
Yeah.
Before I met Epstein,
Mm-hmm.
he lived in London for a period of time. I don't know for how long. And he met and knew some truly fancy people, like people, high society people. that included Princess Diana's best friend. Her name was Rosa Monckton. And Rosa's husband, Dominic Lawson, who's a famous journalist, actually he's a very well-known journalist. And when I... and he was friends with the Barings Bank, and he had, like, sort of...
That was... You're
before
talking
he
about
met me.
Before, so in the
80s. Yes. He was dating Eva Anderson, Miss Sweden, I think. I don't know when she became Miss Sweden.
Okay, so earlier when you said that he met them later, you
Yes.
think he may have met some members of the royal family, or certainly British high society?
He met, I don't know about the royal family, but certainly high society.
Okay.
And the reason why I know this is because sometime this is a documentable thing, whatever. There's a photograph that can give you the date, because I don't remember what the date is of this. So there's something that will peg whatever this date is. I don't remember when that is. Epstein went to London without me. He often went everywhere without me, but he was in London without me, which was decently unusual because London's my hometown. But anyway, he went without me, and he went to a big event in. I think it was in the park. Anyway, it was a big event. It's on the news. It's like there's photographs of it, and I don't know if he sat with Diana or he met Diana or he'd already met her. I don't know, but this I believe was organised by Rosa, and so there's. I don't know if she was being set up as a date for him, maybe, because I don't want to speak bad of Diana, but I'm not going to do
Okay,
that.
so that was pre-meeting you.
No, that was when that event happened when we were.
Oh, okay, that was.
And I
not
was no, it's when we were.
Okay.
I'm not going to say together, but
Okay.
how about this? When I was his employee.
Okay.
Better.
So now moving back to the 2000s, there come a time when Mr. Epstein met Prince Andrew?
Yes.
And others in the royal family, or just Prince Andrew, as far as you know?
Well, so as much as I can piece it together, first of all, let's just state I did not introduce him to Prince Andrew. I did not introduce him to Prince Andrew or to Sarah Ferguson. That is a flat untruth. I'll start with that. So now I'm going to tell you how he did actually meet him. So if you find me that photograph, I can date that time when he met Princess Diana at that event. And based on that, I'll be able to tell you if it's pre or post that event, because I haven't looked it up and I've never bothered to check. So Lynn Forrester, who was a client or some type of client, or I think she actually tried to date him, or might have dated him for the record. She was in... Do you want to ask me something?
No, go ahead.
Okay, she was, she had a house, or she rented a house in the Vineyard. I think it was in the Vineyard or Nantucket. I can't remember now which one it was. It was one of those. It was either Nantucket or the Vineyard. And invited Epstein to go. And I believe that's when he met Prince Andrew. However, I believe that before that event, he had gone to the Bahamas and had hung out with Sarah Ferguson. And Sarah had called Epstein and had arranged with Lynn, or I don't know now, I'm speculating. Anyway, long and short, he met Andrew at there.
And I'm not holding you to an exact date, but when...
Well, we can
approximately
date
was
it
that?
from that picture, if you find me the picture.
But do you know, without looking at a photo, in your mind, approximately when was that?
I want to say it was 2000, no, probably 2001, 2002.
Early 2000s.
Yes.
And I think it was actually Prince Andrew himself who suggested that he met Jeffrey Epstein through you.
I think that's true. So, well...
It's true that Andrew said that.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's true. Because I'm English, and my close friends are all close friends with Sarah and Andrew. And I would not say that I was close friends with Andrew before, but certainly we were friendly, and certainly his best friends, some of them were very, very close with me. And I think that my friendship, me being present, or me is what made Andrew like Jeffrey more, like trust him, or I think that's
So you
maybe
don't
it.
dispute that that you kind of had a role in them getting together. You're just saying you didn't say, Prince,
I
here's
would never
Jeffrey.
have introduced them. It would never have occurred to me to introduce them. I couldn't imagine them being friends. Two chalk and cheeses would never. I mean, for real, there's nothing there to connect them. So he met Prince Andrew, and then he had a relationship. I don't like that word. It sounds funky. They had a
Acquaintanceship.
Thank you. And through Sarah, actually. I think Sarah is the one that pushed that. And they met and hung out, I want to say 2 or 3 times. That had nothing to do with me. I wasn't communicating with Andrew. I wasn't in touch with him. And I know this because I was annoyed. And I felt left out. And I felt disrespected, and I was like, this is weird. I couldn't even imagine Epstein and Andrew together, and I thought that Sarah was trying to put the moves on Jeffrey, if I'm being honest, and I thought the whole thing was annoying, and I was pissed.
So what happened with their relationship, putting aside the publicity around Prince Andrew's purported relationship with what happened, as far as you know, with Prince Andrew and Mr. Epstein's relationship from the times you just described?
Okay, so after that, at some point, Epstein told me that Andrew was coming to New York, and I needed to organize the whole thing. Right? That's classic, by the way, classic Epstein. Of course, if someone's, I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. And because he wanted to make sure that Andrew was taken care of, and that he was comfortable, he had whatever he needed, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, well, am I going to meet him, or are you just going to have me do all the job? And he said, well, you know, you can come and say hello. Right, wow. Well, that's so nice of you, for real. Because you have to understand, like, I don't know if I told you this before, but I did not have the keys to his house. I was not allowed to go to his house unless I was summoned or told. I was not allowed to answer his phones. We can go there. But anyway, so this, we can tell, was a bit of a sore point, perhaps. Anyway, so Andrew came, and of course, the minute we got together, I was like, yay, hi! And then it was so nice because the difference of being in England with Prince Andrew versus being in New York without all the bullshit was insane. And our friendship just like lit up like this. Because first of all, he knew that I'm safe. I mean, safe as in I'm not, you know, Nigel Dempster or taking a page. I mean, not in a million years would I do something so gross. And we honestly got on like a house on fire. I really liked him a lot, and it was so nice, and we just became really, really good friends. Much more so than when we were in London, if I'm honest.
And then with respect to and Prince Andrew, what do you know about that relationship?
Would you like to ask that again? Relationship's a big word. Like I said, I don't like the word. Let's just start there. Okay. So I have read. I just want to like piece together.
Well, but don't say before you say what you read, because that's one of the problems is that we're all kind of
all right. What
we're
I
all
know.
informed by like all the publicity and information around what everybody else has said. But like, what do you think? Or what did you see?
Well,
what did you hear?
What's an even bigger word than bullshit?
Okay. Why? Well, go ahead. But finish that thought. Why do you think that?
I'm going to tell you right now. I'm so happy to tell you. I'm like excited. I'm beyond excited. Okay, so there's going to be a mixture of what I've actually seen and know from the evidence and versus what I've put together. Impossible for me at this point to separate everything, but I'll tell you what I know versus what I saw and what I physically have in here. But it's helpful for you to know. So, the allegation, I have to go with the allegation. The allegation was that at my house in London in March, whatever that was, 2001, I believe, we went to London specially so that we could have a relationship with Prince Andrew, and she was paid a vast amount of money for that purpose. Okay. And that she then got in my bathroom in my house in London and had sexual relations with him, and then went into my guest room and had full-blown sex, and then left my house. Oh, he left, and she felt used and disgusting. And a photograph was taken of them just before all these events took place in my study. That is what is the story. Oh, and then after that, she met him several other times, but we'll come to that. This is where it will allegedly started.
And they went to train.
Oh, right. We went to a nightclub that night. Oh, we went to dinner, right? We went to dinner and then to tram. Okay, so the first thing about that weekend, that specific weekend, was that it's my mum's 80th birthday and I was in the country. And I have some corroborating evidence for that and a lot of testimonial that you can check. So that takes care of the reason why one of the reasons why her story doesn't hold water. The second reason why, so by the way, when I say that, my mum turned 80th that actual weekend. It was her birthday, it's on March the 11th. And the reason why I went to London, and I presume, but I don't remember, is why when we were, so the whole trip started because of Alberto Pinto, who is the decorator for the island and for New York as well. And he had wanted Epstein to go to see a house in Marrakesh, if I remember rightly, and went via the Alhambra. It was also for New Mexico. So there's architectural pieces that contain, and that was the basis of that trip. And I suspect now that that trip was planned all around the fact that I was going to be in London no matter what for my mum's 80th birthday at my brother's house in the country, which is approximately an hour outside of London, an hour and a half outside of London, at my brother's home. And we all congregated on the Saturday for her birthday celebration on the Sunday, and then we left. So that's that. The second reason why, probably maybe even the more important reason than my mum's birthday, that I think it's absolute rubbish, is that Prince Andrew, the idea of him doing anything of that nature in my house that's the size of this room is so mind-blowingly not conceivable to me as the man, or what I just can't, I can't even, no.
Is there any way that it could have happened?
No.
Okay.
Describe the physical plan.
Oh, the physical. So, my house was tiny. I think it's 900 square feet in total. Well, maybe that. Is that right? Maybe 9. It is on 3 floors, however. So you're talking about it's a jewel. It used to be a stable for a horse. It was the stables for the big houses. It was the little poor man's home behind the rich man's home. It's a jewel. Was a gorgeous little place, but it is the size of a nut. If you make a noise, let's say you did a little burp or something, you'd hear it. It just, where she says that they had relations in a bathroom, first of all, the bath is an old Victorian bath. I'm quite small. It's tight for me. I put my brother in there to see what would happen, and it looks like a blivet, which is a sausage in a layer, very tight skin. So her description of whatever the 2 people were doing in the tub, that would work. The bathroom itself is so small you can't lie flat on the floor, so it couldn't happen on the floor because you physically can't. This bathroom is too small to even be on the floor. And then the kicker of all kickers is that because the bathroom was so small, I decorated it to try and make it look huge, which meant that I put mirrors the whole way around it. And what was so fun about being in there is that if you stood in the bathroom, you saw like 100 of you, like you do if you were in
a fun house.
Yeah, well, Alice in Wonderland, or one of those things that you would see yourself going stretching everything. And it's the image, if you said let's say for telling the truth. She could say she was having sex with 5,000 generations of the royal family because that's how far back you could see yourself. There is no way in God's green earth, if that had taken place, that this is something that you would miss, because you couldn't miss it. If you were standing there now, you'd see the whole of the FBI, the whole of the Department of Justice standing behind you. It's like, no.
Did you
Also explain where the tap was in the bathtub.
Oh, well, it's an old Victor. Had a tap. So if you were in, God forbid, if you were in the tub, this is the tub. My tap would be here. I think. No.
So you think it's kind of logistically and physically not something that could have
Well, there's
happened?
that. And there's just, Andrew would, he's so, English. He's so, he had a tie on.
Do you think there's any way it could have happened or no?
Absolutely,
Okay.
on no way, no how, absolutely not. Wait, I haven't finished. So,
Go
on
ahead.
her...
No, no.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's his meeting.
No,
Sorry.
go ahead. Go. Finish, please. Go ahead.
Sorry, can I finish? When all this nonsense took place, where this whole story with the picture and the this and the that and this bullshit, I believe that this whole thing was manufactured, and I can point you to some potentially corroborating evidence of this. So when she gave the photograph to the FBI in Australia,
Just to be clear, the photograph you're talking about the famous one
yeah,
where,
I have an image of it
where,
here.
where
Everybody wants
Prince
to look at
Andrew's
it.
holding and you're in the background.
The fake. Just to be clear. So, on the back of that, and this is in the Discovery, by the way. I don't know if it's in, I don't know which Discovery I saw it in now, but this is it. She wrote in the back that it was a picture that was taken in January of 2000 or 2001, I don't remember.
Okay.
So now, in her handwriting that she's giving the FBI this picture, suddenly now it's March. So how do you go from her writing it's January to March? It's because that's the only one that fit with the flight logs, that when she could be in London and this took place. The second thing is that, I'm so excited to tell you this. There is a journalist. I know you guys are quite, I don't know. The fake news is at work here. So there's a journalist called Sharon Churcher. There is a lawyer called Brad Edwards. These two, and there is a Southern District of Florida prosecutor called Villafana. I would very much look forward to showing you the relationship between these three parties that created that story.
Why? Well, without putting aside the relationship, why do you think they created that story?
I believe that story was created for the purposes of, well, there are multiple. The first one is financial. The second one is for the purposes of the CVRA case. The third one was for the serialization both of her book and in the papers for the story to attack the royal family. And just as a...
So, I think when you were just asked about the photo, you said you actually thought the photo was fake. Do you think it was just misdated, or do you think it's literally a fake photo?
I believe it's literally a fake photo.
Why do you think that?
Well, first of all, I don't remember it. We'll start.
But
Right,
you,
okay, but the outfit I'm wearing
yeah.
is the outfit from my mum's birthday party.
So, but you don't have any. Do you dispute that they met each other?
Do you know whether they've met each other?
I do not know that they met.
Okay, so you not only so you think the photograph is fake, but you also are not even positive they actually ever met each other.
I am not.
So you don't have a specific recollection of kind of being at an event or a party or your apartment or your flat in London with Prince Andrew and...
Absolutely not.
She doesn't know one way or the other.
You understand that,
I
yeah.
want you to know that the reason why I'm not hesitant. I don't have any memory of that. So that's not the issue. The issue is, could Andrew have come to the house to see me or see Epstein and say hi and she had been there? Yes. I can't say that didn't happen. But what I can absolutely categorically say is that I never at any time set Andrew up to have relations with her or any other human being ever. And I can categorically state that her characterization of whatever may or may not have happened could physically would just know. And plus, I was in the country, so all of that's just not conceivable.